Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Hello, and thank you for joining today. Today's a very special episode, and first, welcome to the week. Welcome to your Monday. I hope you had a great weekend. God bless you on Sunday. I hope you were able to get out, enjoy some time with your family, kind of relax. I tried to, really hard, but we have really big shows now, really big shows. There's no more just coffee with Jay, although I'm still going to do that. And I think Clay's around. I saw him on Twitter early. But again, we don't have YouTube chat, so it's going to be hard there, Clay, if you are there. I'm going to miss you, buddy. Going to catch up with you soon, I hope. But as you can see, we have a ticker at the bottom now. We have a photo in the corner here that we're going to be keeping there. And yeah, we're here for the Coutts Four. Started to look into it last week, reached out to Twitter. I said, hey, people, do you guys know anything about this? There's so little information out there. Yeah, Twitter reached out and they put me in contact with some people. And Margaret Granny Mackay was one of them. Reached out to her, had a nice conversation with her. Incredibly passionate lady. She's very caring, huge heart. She's been working on this from the very moment it happened. She knows all the details. She's connected to the families. She's connected to the men. I've tested her on that. She's able to get me information that only the families would know. And the men would know, and she has succeeded at that. So she's definitely genuine, and I do appreciate the fact that she's going to be joining us. Just give me 1 second as I just move this knob to try and stop it from messing around with the video there. Let's see if that helps a bit. But what we ended up doing quickly in the phone call was realizing that this needs to be talked about. We have to be delicate because there is media bans and certain things around what we can and can't talk about. We'll get into that with Donald best on what we have to be careful about. But all in all, there's like a complete ban on the information on this event and what's going on. In fact, a lot of people had no idea that they're still in jail. They're still in jail. This is something we'll be talking about. Like, how can this happen where even if it's a violent charge or it's a serious charge, in Canada, we still have bail. You still have a right to bail because you're innocent until proven guilty. So this is something that we're going to be looking into with Donald and other guests as we move along with this. But we're going to be doing these daily now. So the morning show, we've kind of converted it to still be a morning show, but the main topic is going to be the Coutts Four as we make our way through this information. We're taking this on as a case, basically as if we were a law firm and we were reviewing it. So that's why I'm bringing in an investigator like Donald, reaching out to lawyer friends as well. We'll see who can get involved in this. But there's a real weird silence on this one, like really weird. But maybe we'll find out why. That's kind of what we're trying to do here as well. Go ahead with the chats there, Patch. So good morning to everybody. Yeah, Padge is reaching out and saying good morning to everybody. Hi there. And hey, Tammy, nice to see you. Thank you for making your way over to Rumble. Let me go check, make sure we're good on Rumble. My indicators on this side look good. Looks like there's people watching. A lot of people watching. Wonderful. Thank you all very much for joining us from Rumble. That's wonderful. There's Clay. Let's have that coffee. Oh, thank you, Clay. Thank you, Clay. Good to see you, buddy. And I like my bear, my 2 coffees. Thanks, buddy. And there's a new name. Oh, that's Clay again. So Urzy Day Clay. Urzy Day Clay. I'll just stick with Clay. Yeah, no Rumble chat on Android app. Comment from me might be sparse unless I jump into a browser here and there. Well, thanks, Clay. I do appreciate that. Thanks for, going through this this YouTube ban that we have, suspension. It should be over by Thursday. It might be over 5 minutes before showtime on Thursday. We'll see. Because that was when it was shut off, 5 minutes before showtime. So we'll check it again. Hey, good morning, Mogwow 007. Is that a type of spy? Is it a type of agent? 007? Good morning, buddy. Nice to have you here. All right, folks. Well, we have Donald Best. I'm going to bring him in right now. And not going to keep him waiting for too long. Good morning, Donald. How are you doing?
Good morning, everybody. And what a fine Monday morning it is.
It is. But we're here on a pretty serious subject. You and I kind of over the weekend been texting on Twitter back and forth, and you started to sleuth a bit, and you reached out to somebody you know, and bada boom, bada bang, you said, yeah, let's open this up. Let's make a case out of this and take a good look at this. And thank you very much for that. I appreciate that.
Well, so far it's been really a secret proceeding with 4 people held in prison for almost 500 days, and as I said in my post on the weekend, we're a society that allows people charged with first-degree murder of a police officer to go out on bail. He's out on bail right now.
Yep.
We've had all these forest fires. The arsonists that have been caught are out on bail. Yes, there's conditions, there's ankle bracelets and all the rest of that. Why do we have these 4, all of them, sitting in jail for this long? That's an interesting question. But even if we were in court, we wouldn't be allowed to tell you why.
Yeah, so
That's
you
pretty
looked into
dangerous.
yeah, you looked into this publication ban a little bit. What is it about? Like, what can we not talk about?
Well, I just heard about it, and really, I've been trying to find out the information. Generally, a publication ban means you can't talk about anything that happened in court, or maybe it's specific things. There's very little in the newspapers or online about it. Whether it applies to all 4 or just parts of it, it's just not there. And as you and I found out when we did some research for this, because I haven't been paying attention to this, but I tried to do some research over the weekend, and there's not a lot there. There really isn't. There is the newspaper reporters are apparently just content to let these men rot in solitary confinement until the trial. And when is that going to be? I hope someone can tell us.
Well, it was
to
supposed
be,
to start. Yeah.
Yeah. And now I hear rumors it might be next year sometime. What? I hope our guest today can give us some insight into that.
Absolutely. And I believe she mentioned September 2024. So there might be something this year in September, pushing it to 2024 or something like that. She did mention 2024 to me. But what I did find out was this was a defense adjournment, not a prosecution adjournment. So the June one was the defense asking for it.
I kind of wondered that, and I made comment about it. It seems every case we get into now, and it would be especially true with this one, the prosecution wants to withhold evidence. Now, there's a lot of reasons for doing that. Ongoing investigations. Well, 500 days later, I don't think that counts for much. We've already had a public inquiry on the whole
thing. So the government cleared themselves on their
much.
side. Yes, exactly.
Undercover officers, we don't want their identities. Well, I don't think that's any good either. 500 days later. So what I think is probably happening is it's the traditional fist fight over disclosure. Now the prosecution probably, and I'm speculating here, probably doesn't want to give full disclosure. They've given some, and from that disclosure, the defense probably knows, oh, there's some other things mentioned here, and they haven't given them to us, and that's how these things start. And then you get the real notorious, absolutely nefarious practice of the Crown with and the police sometimes withholding evidence that they know would prove or is likely to prove the accused is innocent. And this happens far more than you would think. You would think that the Crown, especially, but also police, if they have any honor and duty to their badge, you would think that if they found exculpatory evidence, that is evidence that leads to the person's innocence or people to think they're innocent or helps the defense case, you would think that would be surrendered. Many, many times it's hidden, and this can lead to false convictions.
Yeah, and we do know that our system, which is not a justice system, it's a legal system, and absolutely innocent people are convicted all the time. So now we're just starting to look into this. The publication ban is on the what happens in the court. So including the judge's reasons for
Right.
denying bail. So there's a huge gag on this. They're not reporting anything out of the court. And so the reasons why we'll never know. Well, maybe in the future, but currently we can't know. And there's Granny. So let me just take this off the screen and let's go and introduce Granny. Okay. That's weird. Hold on a second, Donald. There we go. There we go. Hello, Granny. Can you hear us?
Hi, how are you?
We don't. There you go. I'm good. How are you? So we finally meet in person. We did it on the phone, and now we get to find. Yeah, there's a small delay, so I apologize for that.
Good morning.
Have you met Donald Best before?
No.
Okay, Donald, how about you go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody so Granny can... First, do you prefer Granny or Granny Mackay?
Just Granny's fine. Thank you.
Okay, good. It's just easy for me. So, Donald, if you don't mind, could you go ahead and let Granny and the rest of everybody know who you are, kind of a bit of your background, and then we can kind of let everybody know why you're actually hanging out with us today?
Sure. My name is Donald Best. In a part of my life, from the time I was 21 years old, I was a police officer with the Toronto Police. I became a sergeant detective. I was well thought of, did a lot of very interesting cases. But along the way, very early on, I started investigating organized crime, and that turned into investigations of, unfortunately, my fellow officers and people in the justice system, the political system. So that was a very interesting part of my life. After that, I ran a private investigative agency, and we specialized in frauds and undercover operations. The same thing I was doing as a police officer, except, well, the police just don't have the resources to do what the clients need sometimes. So I worked for major clients, and it took me all around the world. And I did that for many, many years. And here I am. And oh yeah, I did 63 days in prison, every day in solitary confinement. I was convicted of contempt of court by false evidence. And although I was later vindicated, I had to serve that prison time. And who says I was vindicated? Well, the former commissioner of the Ontario Provincial Police, Julian Fantino, investigated the whole thing, filed an affidavit in support, gave evidence of how to 3 corrupt lawyers fabricated evidence, bribed an Ontario Provincial Police officer to fabricate evidence, and used that against me in a secret trial that I didn't even know about because I was in Asia, to convict and sentence me to prison. And so that gives me another insight that many police and former police don't have. Yeah. Now, I'm an advocate for access to justice issues, and I may have something to say about some other things too.
So, in a nutshell, Granny, he is a corruption investigator, and he's not afraid of the authorities. He's taken them on before. They've attacked him back. He still didn't give up. He didn't say, okay, I did it or anything like that. He fought it all the way and was cleared in the end. It was a $250,000 journey or something like that, just to clear his name. And he's not afraid, and he can get action. So as soon as I started looking into this, I'm like, Donald is the guy. And he also has connections all over the place. So he knows investigators as well. So let's go ahead and introduce you, Granny, to everybody. A lot of your people know who you are, but as surprised as I was, there's very little information out there. And really, you're the spearheader on this and here in Alberta. So why don't we go ahead and let everybody know who you are and what you're working on, please?
Well, I'm a grandma and a mother, and that's my primary job in life. That's the career I chose. I've always helped the underdog since I can remember. Ever since even when I was a child, I stood up for children. I've always been that way. I've always been a bit of a voice or a protector, and that must be the the nurturing part of being a mother and a grandmother. So I did go to Ottawa. I was there for the entire duration. We left on January 24th, met everybody in Regina, because I live northeast of Edmonton. So we headed out, and that was probably one of the most amazing journeys and epic times in Canadian history to be part of. But unfortunately, what I learned is the lies of the government, the lies of the media, the brutality of what I saw officers do. It was disturbing. My daughter phoned me in tears, asking what was going on, and I bear witness to it. I was there when the lady was carried off and the other gentleman, and is my connection really bad?
Yeah, it's choppy. It's quite choppy.
Should I go on my?
Yeah, let's try that, because it's important what you're saying.
I'm not hard. I'm not hooked up to the internet. Yeah. Okay. I'll be back.
Sure. As soon as I see you pop up, I'll bring it back in. Thank you. Yeah, that connection was choppy. Maybe they don't want her to speak. I'm just kidding there. Yeah, she'll work on that and get it back.
Maybe you're not kidding.
I'd like to laugh at that, because my goodness, if they're after little old Les, that's crazy. While we're waiting for her, I kept looking at this article to see if we can get some information, and there's not much here at all. It just says denied bail, conspiracy to commit murder, named Chris, and then justice, protection by a publication ban. What I saw here was there was 14 arrested at one point, or charged. But these 4 are the ones that they're looking at, and they're going to try them together. All right, let's give this a shot. Hello, Granny.
Yeah, maybe that'll be better.
Oh, wow. The audio's way better. Everything's way better. Yes.
Yeah, this is where I belong, in front of my phone. That's what I've been doing for the last how many months, running around.
Oh, this is way better. Yeah, even the video's better.
Yeah, I'm not at home. As you know, I'm staying with Tony's mom while the courts are going on in Lethbridge. So I'm not hardwired in with my laptop, and so we'll use my phone.
No, this is perfect. It's perfect.
Okay.
So go ahead and start again if you don't mind, and everybody can hear the whole thing.
Like I said, I'm a mother and a grandmother, and that is my primary career of choice, and always helping the underdog. So obviously, when the convoy started, it was very confusing. It was a dark time. I want people to remember that when they talk about the Coutts Four. Remember where we were. Remember when people were wishing death upon us. Remember when you tried to go get a jug of milk and people are chasing you down the aisle. We need to remember the dark times that went on there and our mindsets. It was horrible. And it was horrible for a 61-year-old grandma, and it was horrible for my daughter. It was just horrible. Mm-hmm. So then the convoy comes. I honestly could not afford to go. I wasn't going. I thought, I can't do this. I can't afford this. And then somebody I had met and another lady I'd met, we jumped in a truck and away we went. And then I jumped in with another lady from Kelowna and away we went. I just was literally going on a wing and a prayer. Mm-hmm. And people started helping me. I started putting videos out saying, if you've got accommodations, can you put us up? People reached out and they helped me. And that's been part of the beautiful part of this journey, is how people have been helping me. So then I get to Ottawa, and it was the best freedom festival at -26 you could ever experience. And I stayed there for the entire duration. And I saw corruption. I saw the government lie about us. I saw the media lie. I've met the media, and they would turn their cameras the other way. And I thought, wow, they didn't even try to hide what they were doing.
Yep.
And then I saw the lady and the gentleman get carried off after being trampled by the horses. And I thought, what is going on? What is happening? So then it's all over. Everybody's packing up. We're all going home. And George and Pat were arrested. And I know George. He's a wonderful man. And I cried when I left because I didn't want to leave him behind. I thought, we're not supposed to leave anybody behind. We're all supposed to go home. And the same with Pat. But I personally know George, so I've got more of an attachment to him. So we're going home, and I started hearing about arrests in Coutts. And I thought, well, if the lies were in Ottawa, there's lies in Coutts. So then I started asking, who got arrested? Who are these people? And I kept hearing like 14 people, but it was crickets. Nobody was talking about it, trying to find information, couldn't find information. So now I'm home, and it's the middle of March, and I'm still asking. And then I saw a TikTok video. Somebody says, okay, everybody's out of jail. You know, Tamara's all home, and Pat's home. Everybody's home. And can we worry about the Coutts boys? And I'm like, okay, there we go. There's guys in jail. Finally got their names. I started an Alberta political prisoners page. I started sharing. The family started reaching out to me. And you got to remember now, these men have been in jail how long? They've been charged with a absolutely horrible crime. And I'll say it. They were charged with conspiracy to murder RCMP officers. Mm-hmm. So now people are wondering who I am. The families start reaching out to me. I earned their trust. I earned their respect. They're scared. They're confused how this is even happening. And our journey begins. And now we're here at this point, 498 days later. And so I started fundraising. I started raising awareness. I've got to know the men. And I would have any one of these men as my family. In fact, they are my family now. I've surrendered my life to this because it is a full-time job. Mm-hmm. It's and that's, so we're here. I don't know if I keep going or because I could just
no, you're doing wonderful. Yeah. So first, I just want to thank you for taking this up. There's something that guided you to that, and
yes.
God bless you for that. There's a reason why you've devoted over almost 500 days to this. You've raised over 30,000 on Give, Send, Go. You raised money other places, so you're doing a great job here.
Yeah, we've raised just over $200,000 so far.
Congratulations, because they don't have, these aren't rich people, and nor should they have to worry about that. This is they're innocent until proven guilty. So you've noticed very quickly that doesn't seem to be the case here. There seems to be guilty until they prove themselves innocent, or
that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, or there is nothing, there is no guilt, there is no evidence. This is just a message or something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what it is yet, whether or not they've done something and it's just taken a while to get through court, which this is too long, or there's something else going on here, because I can find a lot more information. So Donald, I'm going to go to you on this because you started looking into this as well. Normally there's more information that we can find. For example, the date of the charges, more charge information. Publication ban is kind of unique. So it's very, very odd how this is very quiet. So Donald, if you don't mind, what was your initial gut as you're starting to get into this? Was it fishy to you, or is this kind of normal?
Okay, well, there are elements of it that are perfectly normal, and as a matter of fact, there are elements of it that make me think something was going on. That somebody had somebody might have been thinking bad thoughts. Right now, I'm looking at a photo which is in the newspaper, in the Calgary Herald, and let's see. The title is. Some Coutts protesters wanted to alter Canada's political system. Guilty. Guilty.
I think I'm guilty of that because I'm running for office.
I mean, I'm
things.
guilty.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that too. Sorry, I wasn't clear. Yes, absolutely. And my goodness, they wanted to change the political, justice, and medical systems. Oh my goodness.
I'm guilty of that too.
That's right. So what makes it, and look, they've taken little things that the police have given them, and a lot of this is is unattributed, but there's a retracted version of the charge sheet out there. You can't find it online, but obviously they gave it to the news media, mm-hmm. and it's very selective. Okay. They wanted to alter Canada's political, justice, and medical systems. The protest was not just about ending the vaccine and public health mandates, but about altering the system, et cetera, and they wanted the elimination of a group of people referred to professional political class. Well, you know what? I would like to see the
Me
elimination
too.
of the professional political class. I really want to see that. But that word means a lot of things depending on the
Sure.
context. So what we have here is an article that I'm looking at, and you know what? Why don't I just
You can share it and I can put it up.
yeah, I'll paste it into.
Well, if you do present on your screen, there's a little button that says present and you can do screen share.
Haven't done that yet. We won't practice it in front of everybody.
Okay,
right
I'll get
now.
you another day.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. There's
All
a link.
right.
I got it here.
And,
I got it.
there's all sorts of other stuff here too. So okay. So there's the link. So anyway, half of these things that are here that they are accused of doing are to set the flavor. And I think my father did that with Diefenbaker in '59. They discussed all these things, okay? But where it meets the road for me is this. If you scroll down, there's the photo of the weapons.
Right.
Now,
Okay. I'll get right to those.
yeah. And I'm
It's
going to
bigger.
comment on this because these weapons,
Where?
it says, assortment of weapons and ammunition seized near Coutts during the crackdown. Now,
Oh,
how
there we
many
go.
of them were at an accused home? How many of them were on site? We don't know. I've tried to, I know that they hit one of the accused homes with a warrant and got some 30,000 rounds of ammunition. Yeah, that's a lot of ammunition. I don't think I've ever had that in my house, but a lot of it was 22. And you know that's purchased sometimes in boxes of 1,000, 22 long rifle, 10 boxes of 100, whatever. So let's face it, a lot of this has been presented to appear as bad as possible. That said, I'm looking at some things here that concern me. I'm looking at magazines that appear to be of a higher capacity than is allowed by Canadian law. If these things go all the way down, you see them on the right side of the picture?
Yep.
Yes, that's it. If they go all the way down, I don't know, what are they, 20, 30 round magazines? Especially there's another longer one there by the lever action rifle.
Mhm.
That's interesting. Then we have orange shotgun shells at the top right of the picture. And that's they look like that's a magazine that fits one of these things. I don't know which one.
Well,
Now,
did you find any gun charges? Like, I know they're charged for conspiracy for
yeah,
murder, but are they charged
yes,
with any
they
gun?
say there's weapons charges.
Okay.
And I read that there was a pistol found, but it was registered to one of the accused. The question is, in what state was it found? Where was it found? Was it locked up? We're simply not allowed to know. I'd love to see the redacted information to obtain the warrant or even the charge sheet, but I've been unable to find these.
Mhm.
What else do I see that concerns me? You know what? Tactical bulletproof vests. Yeah, that concerns me. Why
But
would
none
you
of
need
that's
that?
illegal, though, right? You would say
No,
none of that's.
it's not illegal. But don't forget, we're talking. Oh, you can explain as well as I can. You're, as a matter of fact, a trained legal professional, and I'm not. Conspiracy. What it means is that you charge conspiracy so that everything that everybody does applies to everybody. So in other words, if you only brought the gasoline, maybe you thought it was to fill up a car, but it was actually for an arson. And everybody else around you is working on that. You might be charged with conspiracy to commit arson, even though you only believed the gasoline was to fill up a car.
Sure.
Nothing to do with this case. I'm just using it as an illustration. So conspiracy is a catch-all, but once again, what's the evidence? What's the context? We have no idea at
Mhm.
all. But I'm saying that if even half of this stuff was located, brought to the scene, and was, depending on how it was talked about, and says, look at the machete down there. Why do
Mhm.
you need a machete like that, 2 feet long, at a protest? Why do you
Okay,
need
but
all this at a protest? Look,
sh-
I'm just being the devil's advocate here. And
sure.
but the question is, where was this taken from? Homes where it's legal and normal, or was it at the protest actually ready to be used? And that's what they're going to try and prove. It's what they've alleged, from what I can see in the newspaper.
Well, I do remember the conversation coming out on this, and it was a bag full of stuff that they removed from a house, not at the protest. And also that story changed. That story first came from it was
Yes.
at the protest, then it was in a trailer, then it was in a house. So the story around where these weapons were found has changed each time I hear it. Granny, do you want to kind of fill us in on what you know about this part?
Okay, first off, there's a truth here somewhere. And if four men can't get to a courtroom to share the truth, then everybody gets to use their imaginations and they get to come up with their own scenarios. So the truth is there, but you need to be given a chance to share the truth. And there's 14 people that were involved in this so-called arrests.
Right.
And has anybody even been in a courtroom yet? No. 498 days later. My assumption is, why don't they want the truth to come out? That's the way I see it. Because there is a truth here. And it's very
Yes.
explainable. And I'm not saying everybody was smart. I'm saying there's a truth here. And it's not conspiracy. And I'm saying that's why the truth is still locked up.
For
And
sure.
they're trying to break these men. And most men at 498 days, and 2 of them right now, are spending 22 hours a day in segregation because there's no room to house them. They're trying to break them. They have been offered plea deals, but I don't know, 10, 12, 12, and 14 years for trying to overthrow the government is something I don't think I'd be jumping up and down to grab as a plea deal, especially when you know you're innocent. They want the truth to stay inside, and they're not allowing that truth out. And it's evident. The corruption I've seen happen, dribble drabbles of disclosure being dragged out. If you had all this evidence and you got so much on these guys, why wasn't there a trial instantly?
Right.
They're
So
not. They're bombarding the lawyers with thousands of pages of disclosure that is not organized. It has no headers. It's got no titles. It is just dumps on a thumb drive.
yeah, no, we saw that at the POEC, and I actually want to highlight the POEC. So during the POEC, they had enough evidence to show them, even in behind closed doors, that there was a threat here, that they actually had a concern here. So where is that evidence? Why hasn't that been presented to the defense yet? Because if there was enough for the POC to clear the Coutts situation, the RCMP, the mayor, the province, there was enough to clear them on that. That evidence should be coming forward. Now, you use the word truth a lot, which I love, but I also want to look for the evidence, because the evidence will lead us to the truth. And so far, we're getting none of that. Go ahead, Granny.
Have you seen the interview with Rick Abbott from Edmonton? The
I have
officer
not.
that was let go. He went down to Milk River. And in fact, okay, back the story up a bit. He contacted Danny Bulford. He wanted to know what was going on in Ottawa. And Danny said to him, you need to see it with your own eyes. You either get on a plane, you come to Ottawa, or you go down to Milk River Coutts and you see with your own eyes. So on his days off, in his own normal clothing, he went down. And he said when he walked up to, or drove up to Milk River, all he saw was teeth, because everybody was smiling. He said people were barbecuing, people were at bouncy castles, and kids on ponies. And he said, okay, this is bizarre. So now he wants to go to Coutts and he wants to see what's going on. And he goes down to Coutts, and the atmosphere is a little bit more somber. It's a little bit more serious. But he said he never felt there was any threat. He never felt there was anybody in the room that would cause harm. And this is his assessment. And he's got quite an extensive background in that field. And he actually met these men unknowingly. Like One of them actually showed him how to get from Milk River to Coutts, and he doesn't even know it. So he didn't see anything. And and again, there was a press release by Officer Roberta McHale, and she said these 4 came in separate to the rest of the demonstration. No, they didn't. And I've called her out on it. Tony came in day 1 in his gravel truck with his friends, and there's a video of him doing that. Chris and Chris are best friends, but they did come separate. They came in 2 individual trucks. One of the Chris's pulled a holiday trailer. They were there from day 1. Jerry he was never there without his wife. Every moment he was there, I think 3 days and a few hours. He was there with his wife. They never came in separate. They were not huddled in a corner somewhere like they were led to believe. And they put that out to the public. So why are you lying? And where's the retraction?
Mm-hmm.
So the lies, if there's one, there's more. And until we can get, and like you say, the evidence, and there's evidence, but there's also the truth from these 4 men, and it needs to be shared, and they need to be allowed to share. And I'm not saying it's going to be the perfect version of truth. I'm not saying they're angels. I'm not saying that they didn't make a mistake, but they deserve to share their truth, and they're not being allowed.
Now, Donald, in the U.S., we had a case where the governor, Whitmer, apparently there was a kidnapping plot. Okay. So there was 15 or so people charged in that one. And then we find out as time goes on, as disclosure happens, that they were basically all FBI informants and all FBI agents who were pursuing that plot and who were enabling and kind of causing it to move ahead. So we know this kind of stuff happens. In your experience, does this kind of stuff happen in Canada?
Sure. Look, this kind of thing happens all the time, but a lot of it isn't. What's the word? Some conspiracy to make things happen. You have to understand. People get upset. Police officers, and they get concerned. That's a better word. When they see things happening, they want to make sure everything's okay because all it takes is one. But the problem is, if you investigate with a destination in mind, you're going to find the evidence that will prove whatever you want it to prove, because you're going to be selective about it. Now, the article, the Calgary Herald article that I just read out loud and you had on the screen, that is nothing but selected little bits of what would be innocuous, presented in a very sinister way. And we've got the weapons there and everything. Okay, great. It doesn't say, were these weapons all found on their person, standing in the middle of the crowd, or in their home, or in a trailer, or locked up as they're supposed to be? Now, I'll tell you one thing that I look at right here. Many of these weapons, probably most of them, are not registered. They don't have to be registered. You don't have to register a long gun, or do you? I mean, that's being fought through the courts and everything like that. Some, we know at least one, there's a pistol here and such. But my point is this: who owns these weapons? Who touched them? Did the undercover RCMP agents touch them? If this is a serious investigation about overthrowing the government of Canada by violence and armed force, I would think they would have fingerprinted everything on this table. I would think there would be DNA testing of every firearm and every piece of ammunition on this table. But if it's on this table and it's not protected, I don't think they did that.
No, they wouldn't have had time between where they say they got them and where they displayed them. So you're right. It wasn't even handled
Exactly,
well.
and they would be protected and such. So think about this. You're charging armed insurrection of Canada. They want to murder the politicians. That's what we That's what we read, wasn't it? That's the way
Yeah.
it was presented in this article. Absolutely. And they want to murder police officers, or they're prepared to. But no fingerprints, no DNA. I can tell you right now, no DNA, no fingerprints done on these things. This is not a protected, these are not protected exhibits. Do you agree with me on that assessment, Jason?
Correct. There's no bags around them. There's no tracking on them. There's no signatures on the bag. There's no, no, you're supposed to, from the moment you find it, you're supposed to treat it as evidence. You're supposed to have an entire history of it.
We got little tags, and I bet you the officers handled it themselves with their own fingers.
Well, they would have to put it on the table for sure. Gloves or not. And another thing, you mentioned those magazines. You're allowed to have them as long as they don't fill up. So they could be limited capacity. They just look cool.
And I concur, but once again, evidence, we don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I suspect the middle four, let's say there's viewing windows. You can see viewing windows in those. If there's a viewing window there, it means so you can look at how full it is, and it's down at the bottom. Looks to me like it might have been over capacity, maybe. I don't know. How about some evidence? As Granny says, let's see some evidence. Yes.
So Granny, at this point, they were supposed to start in June, so just like a couple of weeks ago or a week ago, but it got postponed, adjourned, and it was a request from the defense side to postpone for a bit. So do you know why they want that?
Because they got dumped thousands of pages of disclosure again. They were supposed to have all the disclosure at the start, and it's been an ongoing dump. And I'm talking dump. So if you get 1,000 pages, there might be 200 in there that are relevant. So you've got to go through thousands of pages of unorganized garbage.
Yeah, they did that at the POC too.
It takes time, and it takes a lot of money. I honestly believe that they thought these guys would break. They thought that they would snap. They thought they couldn't handle it. They thought the public wouldn't stand behind them. They thought financially everything that they couldn't do it. Well, these guys are not going anywhere. They said, we didn't do it. I've made it this long. I'm not going to give up. And I don't blame them. But my gosh, it is hard. One of them I was talking to yesterday just found out, and he was upset, and rightly so, that trial may be May, June of 2024. You think he's a little upset? Like, oh my gosh. Where's the speedy trial? We're way past that.
Yeah, so we saw that, Granny, at the POEC. So the government of Canada was the worst for it. They would just dump unindexed documents, thousands, tens of thousands of them, the day of, in order to make it difficult. So they can say we disclosed, but not in time. So I understand why they were doing that. Do let them know we have technology like AI and other things that can assist to go through tens of thousands of documents, by the way. So reach out and let them know that there is ways to process this. And we would absolutely assist if we're allowed to. So go ahead and pass that invite on. Donald, this is a normal tactic. We saw it all over the POEC. We see this all over other court cases where the government will disclose at the very last second and make it very difficult. It's not even names on the file names, or all this random characters. They're even inside the PDF. It's really hard to read. They've made it so pixelated, and sometimes the pages themselves aren't even in order in the PDF itself. Like, it's insane what they can dump on you. How did you deal with that?
They aren't even Bates numbered. Bates numbering, by the way, is a standard number that's applied to each page of every document. We've handled, typically we've handled cases that have over 1 million documents. And that's quite easy to organize or leave unorganized if you want the other side to be in chaos. The other thing, which is what the prosecution sometimes does, and it's done in civil cases too, and there's been some judgments in civil cases where major corporations have tried to overwhelm litigants by dumping, 1 million pages on them, excuse me, with no Bates numbers on them, and the courts have gone back to them and said, no, we see that strategy, you're not allowed to do it. Now, I don't know, whether that would be any use in a criminal matter in Canada, but it's relevant. And the other thing that happens too is this, excuse me. The other thing that happens is you'll get 500 documents or 100 documents dumped, and you go through them meticulously, and they point to other documents that are still needed, that
The
have been
reference.
withheld from you. And they could be exculpatory. They could prove the innocence, and they've left them out. But they're not always so good at hiding that they exist.
Mhm.
So you get that next batch, and then you go through that, and darn it, there's another whole section of conversations that were recorded that you didn't give us. Oh, sorry, they say, and they give them to you. And now the accused have been in jail for a year, 6 months, or 3 months, or whatever the case is. Very typical. Sometimes just sloppiness, and that often happens. But a lot of times it's tactical.
Mm-hmm. And Granny, what we hear a lot in our profession is the process is the punishment, which just simply means being involved in the court, in the legal system itself is a punishment. You got to pay for fees, you got to take time away from work. And in this case, you're actually incarcerated. So, and you also mentioned you thought maybe they would break them. Well, look, here's what I know. When it comes to the media, nobody's talking about it. And that includes the alternate media. I reached out to somebody. I'll keep him or her nameless. I won't even divulge their gender or sex. But independent media or alternate media reached out and said, hey, look, I'm working on this. Is there anything you can help me with? Because they're also in Alberta. And the response was, I actually personally know one of them. They're from my town. And because I'm got this news organization, I work with them, I can't say anything. And I was like, wow. He goes, but he or she says, but I support you completely. Keep going. I'm like, okay, interesting. So alternate media, this is not CBC, CTV, this is somebody else. And they're saying, look, we're not allowed to. So there's something going on here when it comes to possibly even intimidating or making the media afraid to even report this.
The media ban was put in place by the guy's lawyers at the start. They said because they chose to have a jury trial, that the media, the mainstream media especially, would taint and get their perception of what's going on out there. So it was to protect the men. But we can still talk about the injustice of what the men are going through. You know, where's the speedy trial? Where's the due process? Where's innocent until proven guilty? There's many things that can be talked about. Even how the men are being treated. You know, one had a shackle, and they shackle them. They're, oh God, I wish you could see this. They look like Donald Trump going to court. It is unbelievable. These 4 white SUVs speeding through the streets of Lethbridge, and we've got 2 family men in those cars. And one of the shackles was too tight. And the guard said, well, we'll loosen it or I guess it might be a sheriff. We'll loosen it when we get to the courthouse. So they get out of the car and he says, can you loosen my shackle, please? And the guy looks at me and says, you're not meant to be comfortable, and walked away.
Right. That's
so
the process punishing you. Yep.
Yeah, it's horrible. These men are innocent until proven guilty, and they're being treated like shite. And it's horrible. And who's supposed to do something?
No, you're 100%. And that's why we're going to try and do something, bring some attention to it. At least don't forget about them. At least make them aware that there's support still for them. Yeah. And the most common comment I've gotten since I put this out on Twitter is they're still in jail. Like, that's the most common comment. A lot of people thought maybe a long time ago they'd be out waiting for trial, because that's what we do here in Canada. We put GPS on you. We keep an eye on you. Jeremy McKenzie's on house arrest right now. This is what we do in Canada pending trial. But this is very different. So either, and look, I'm also going to be a bit of a devil's advocate. Either there is a lot of evidence that shows a massive conspiracy and an actual intent and a motive and an ability to, which are all the things required in order to be criminally charged, and we just don't know it, or this is really, really fishy, and they are playing games, they're stonewalling, and I think you might be right. They're trying to push them to the point of taking a deal so that they can say, okay, we were right all along. So I'm really pleased to hear that they're going to keep fighting it. So with the defense lawyers, they put the publication ban on because they didn't want the narrative to be controlled, which is, I understand.
These aren't the original lawyers. There's only one original lawyer, and that's Jerry's lawyer.
Okay.
the rest have been either fired or quit. And the shenanigans that go on there too, you know, when one lawyer holds up time for 10, 11 months and then demands $100,000 or I'm going to quit, and then
Right.
quits, and he hasn't done anything. He hasn't even looked at the disclosure yet. He's done nothing, but he tied up the time. He then he quits, gets on the phone and phones up Jerry's lawyer and says, you should quit too, or charge $200,000. What's up with that? And why are one day a lawyer's all happy with what he finds as evidence and the next day he quits? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, no, so they're trying to,
I can speak to that.
and then I'll follow up with Donald.
Yeah, I can speak to that. Could be a lot of things happen. Could be that lawyer discovered something, or the accused said something to the lawyer that now the lawyer can't act for him. Could be a newly discovered conflict of interest. Could be a lot of things. But unfortunately, one of the things that it happens in the legal profession is there are many lawyers out there who make their money through the process. And when it gets time for trial, there's no money in trial unless it's big, big money. It takes a lot of preparation. It takes a lot of hard work. And you know, if you're not such a good lawyer, trial is where it shows. So there's all sorts of lawyers out there, mediocre lawyers or just greedy lawyers in every setting. Criminal lawyers, marriage lawyers, oh my goodness, and civil lawyers. There's all sorts of them out there who will do anything to get their clients to negotiate a deal. And if it doesn't go to a deal, if it goes to a criminal trial or if it goes to a civil trial, they don't want it. They can't handle it. There's not enough money in it. And they leave their clients high and dry. I have heard from 1,000 people in the last 10 years, really that many, who have written me with that story, because that's my story too.
Okay, and then some behind the scenes is the lawyer insurance. So just like a lot of other professions, insurance plays a role, and you have to carry insurance in order to practice. And if they pull that insurance, you can't practice. So they do contact you and say, here are things you can and can't do. And if there's a high risk case, they're going to ask you to go and get a large retainer to cover these costs that may come up because the insurance itself is getting concerned. So there's a whole bunch of moving parts when it comes to lawyers as well. And there's the one that we all know, okay? That is your profession and your law firm will take a hit when you take on anything like this. So I do know that especially around the convoy ones, Keith Wilson had a great practice before the convoy, stood up, was working with some very large groups, and now he's rebuilding. He has to rebuild. He's made it clear that there's a lot of repercussions for being a representative for these people in his actual profession. So there's the pushback from your own clients and people that you normally work with. There's pushback from the other lawyers. There's pushback from your insurance, and there's a requirement to get the large retainers up front. All of that mix, and I think even with what Donald said, might have scared away most lawyers. Absolutely, most lawyers. You need to be a special breed to stand up to this, because you're likely going to take a hit professionally as well. So I think all of that together can make this very difficult for anybody to get justice in Canada. Granny, you want to say something?
No, and I agree with that. I do feel the lawyers that are in place right now are a different breed of lawyer. I know everybody keeps saying, oh, you got to fire the lawyers. No, these lawyers are actually in the game now. I do feel that. I feel they're trying hard. I feel they're doing their jobs. It's just a different feeling. And I think they actually see their clients as people and not just a paycheck right now, which is good.
That's good. So 3 of them are hired and 1 of them is a legal aid. I think
Yes.
that's the case.
Yes.
Yeah. And that legal aid is he or she is doing a good job?
I'm not sure. I'm not privy to that information, but
we do know they're all being tried together. So all 4 of them are being tried together. Yeah, that could be complicated too. I'm surprised they haven't tried to separate.
Try and line dates up between a judge, a crown, and 4 lawyers.
Yep.
That's
So,
difficult.
so we're going to make a commitment here, Donald. I'm definitely doing it, and I believe you are as well, there, Granny, to try and get together as often as we can every morning. Whether you can make it or not, Granny, one day or not, we're going to keep going. Ditto with Donald, and even if both of you can't make it, I'll keep going for that today. The idea here is to keep updating people every single day. Let's not forget about this. Wednesday is 500 days. 500 days on Wednesday. So let's keep this going.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, in Toronto, we've got a cop killer out on bail.
Yeah, he actually is charged with killing a cop, and within 3 months
Wow.
or so, he was
First
provided bail.
degree murder.
Yeah. So in
Wow.
Canada, even if it's a police, we still give you bail, but there's a lot of conditions. We got to know where you are. You can't be around guns, et cetera, et cetera. That would be very normal in this case. Okay, so I'll send you guys the links every morning. We're going to keep doing this. We're going to have at least an hour. Yes, thank you. No, thank you. This is the least we can do is give you some platform here.
Well, I appreciate it, and the four men really do appreciate it. I talk to them regularly, and the one I said the top up credits on his phone came from you, and he said, "Oh, I was wondering where that came from," and so he says, "Thank you." I haven't talked to
Yeah,
the other
and
one yet, but
yeah, to everybody listening, you can contribute to the men in a whole bunch of different ways. So what I put down in the ticker here is their numbers. So you'll need that number if you want to send them phone credits or reach out to them with a letter or something. They're currently all in the Lethbridge Correctional Facility,
yes,
right?
for at least
Right.
this week. Like I said, the pre-trial is done on Friday because they did have 3 weeks put aside for trial, so it turned into pre-trial. And then there's going to be other dates. As soon as I get that schedule, I'll get it to you, Jason.
Okay.
There's going to be all kinds of pre-trial coming up again, and again, it's day by day, like hour by hour, things can change. You don't know what's going to happen. It's there's no
Yeah.
regularity here.
Well,
But
thank
the,
you for keeping it.
but the lawyers are expensive. So we do have two ways that you can support them in. Is we have the e-transfer and we do have the Give Send Go. A lot of people are nervous about using the Give Send Go, but I've had no issues with it. It's I know we're walking in fear, and honestly, we got to stop walking in fear. You know, many people, when I found these men, everybody was running away from them. I felt like I'm running towards them, and everybody I knew was running away from them. Some have come back, but we got to get past this fear. If we don't face it, it's just going to swallow us up. And we can't allow that, because we can't allow it to swallow up these four men. They are us. This convoy never ended. The Coutts demonstration never ended. It won't end for me until these four men come home. And we need to get that mentality. I saw tens and tens of thousands of people through this journey. I know they're out there, but they got to hear us. And that's thank you to Jason here. Well, hopefully more that we're part of that movement will hear this and help these four men. And that's pretty much
Absolutely.
it.
So I'm sitting in a fifth wheel trailer, and I can bring it to Lethbridge. I can bring it to whatever court they go to. I understand that they're trying to change the court to a different city, so I'm not sure what city they're trying to get to.
Well, it's trying to line everybody up. It's trying, like I said, you got eight different people, at least 8. There's more trying to get dates, and so the pre-trials might end up in different courtrooms if there's not availability in Lethbridge. Again, it's a moving target, right? It's just everything's the moving parts all over the place, and they prefer to keep it, but again, Tony and Jerry are in segregation right now. They're 22 hours lockdown or lock up, whatever it is. And that's torture. Like, oh my gosh. So, but the guys don't necessarily want to be moved. Like when they moved Tony from Medicine Hat to come to Lethbridge. So let's back up a year. When they took Tony to Medicine Hat from Lethbridge, he gets woke up and he gets taken straight from Lethbridge to Medicine Hat. Just boom, over to Medicine Hat. But for him to come from Medicine Hat to Lethbridge via Calgary Remand Center. So they literally were minutes away from Lethbridge, drove him up through Claresholm and up through the highway to the remand. That was a horrifying experience for Tony, having 2 days there. But that's where Jerry's been hanging out for a year and a half, is in maximum security up in Calgary.
wow.
Why? Why are they doing that? That's horrible.
They're
So,
breaking them.
yep, you got it.
Yep. They're breaking
And,
them. They're going to do all these mind games and emotional games, and they're breaking them for sure. You
but
keep them
the
strong.
but the public can help them.
Yes. So you can also send letters to them. So if you go to Alberta, if you search for Contact Inmate Alberta, there's a whole page on how you can send letters. You just need to know their number and where they're at. So you can see in the ticker, we have the Proton Mail for the e-transfers, and we also have the Give, Send, Go. So if you want to give there as well. And spread this information. The biggest thing everybody can do right now is to spread this, share it, get it out there. Let's get this into a snowball. Let's get thousands of people on this daily.
Thank you.
Thank you. But we'll meet you again tomorrow around the same time. I'll send you the links as normal, and we'll just keep this going.
You betcha. We're heading out here in about 30 minutes. I'm staying with Tony's mom while this court is on, and she's an hour outside of Lethbridge, and she goes every day. And she goes, I would say 98% of every Saturday. It's a 2.5-hour trip to go to Medicine Hat for her to go see her son, and she does. And this lady Tony's her only child, and she's 80. And
wow.
This is, yeah. I never did say that. Can I explain who the men are? I didn't share that. Like, 2 of them are single fathers.
We are out of time, but we can certainly go with
Okay.
that tomorrow. Yeah, because Who Are the Men would be a great way to start tomorrow as well.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll share who they are.
Yeah. I'm not trying to catch you, but we were trying to get this out there. And yeah. Okay. So thank you very much, Granny. We'll catch you tomorrow. Give Tony's mom a huge hug from us. Give her a big kiss from us. You remind her there's more people now.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Granny. We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay. Ciao.
Oh, I got to stop doing that. There's a delay. I got to stop pushing that button so quick. And then Donald, right back at you too, buddy. Thank you for the Devil's Advocate. Thank you for looking into it. And thank you for keeping it alive and keeping us real. Our entire goal on this one is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, wherever it leads us. And that's what we want to do here. We want to be led by the truth, not determine innocent or guilty and then try and make it fit. What likely has happened here, there might have been a couple of things that were said that maybe could have been a little bit more than you would want to say. But in the criminal world, you also need intent. You also need the ability to have a conspiracy to commit murder. That's a high bar. So I expect high evidence for that one. And I also expect really good evidence that stands up to testing if we're going to go further to conviction. So thank you very much, Donald, for keeping us all honest on that one. Do you have any closing statements before we run?
Yes, I think it's quite evident that, in context, it's a political decision and a political act to keep all these 4 accused in prison for this long. That's a political decision. As I said, we've got a cop killer out with an ankle bracelet. Come on. This is a political decision.
The driver of the SUV in Winnipeg that ran over protesters, convoy protesters, ran over them on video, got bail in 1 week. So this is a country that gives bail.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Don. Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. And tomorrow we're going to learn more about the men. So I think that's going to be a great way to start to learn about these men. A couple of them are fathers and family men. So thank you, Donald.
See you then.
Bye. There, I waited a moment or two to get that button done. All right, folks, I hope this is what you're looking for. It used to be just coffee and chatting about the previous guest on our show. No, we're actually going to focus on the Coutts Four now. This is important. Nobody else is doing it, and they should be. So we'll fill that gap in the narrative and in the messaging. We're going to be very careful not to cause any trouble for the men or the prosecution by making sure that we only talk about what we can talk about and be very sensitive about coming to conclusions and giving fact or giving opinion as fact. So we're going to work on that as well. But thank you all for being here. Please remember that we do want your comments in the bottom. So go ahead and put your comments in. If you have questions that you want to get to Granny or Donald or anybody else that shows on here, put the comments in and we'll get to them and we'll answer them the best we can. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel, even though we're not on YouTube for a few more days because we got banned for some vaccine truth. We got suspended for some vaccine truth. We'll be back on. But go ahead and subscribe wherever we are, whether on your Facebook, you're on LinkedIn, wherever you are, go ahead and subscribe. We're on multiple channels here. we'll fix that graphic. But we're streaming on Rumble, we're streaming on Odyssey, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter. We will be back on YouTube soon, and then LinkedIn. So you can find us everywhere. Go ahead and share it with everybody. If you see parts of this that you like it, go ahead and clip it and share it. This is important to get this message out. And thank you very much to my special guests, Donald and Granny Mackay. We're definitely going to keep this conversation going. So thank you both very much for contributing to that. So on that note, everybody, I want to remind you all that this is very important. So please share, and let everybody, remind everybody, they're still in jail. A lot of people said to me, what? They're still in jail? Yes, that's exactly why we're doing this, because they are, and they shouldn't be. We don't know what happened. We don't know what happened, but we do have a country that has bail. We do provide bail, and you're innocent until proven guilty. That's not happening here. So thank you all very much for showing up. We'll be doing this every single day. Bring your friend every single time. This is not Fight Club. We want you to talk about this. Thank you all very much. I love you all, and God bless.